Back to another Q&A, guys. It's William Cosentino on another episode here, and I've got a bunch of stuff written up on the board. I hope we can see this on the big screen. I noticed that the color green isn't so good, but here's the deal, guys. I wanted to create this video that talks about the different areas of IT and explain and break it down a little bit, because one of the questions that is also another familiar one would be, you know, a recent question that came in was, which area should I get into? What should I study in the IT realm? And second question to that was, what is it really like to work in the real world? So this person hasn't worked in IT before. And it's a great question, because with so many different areas, you don't really know where to go. So I'm going to address that right now. It's going to be a little bit longer video than normal, because I really want to get into the details for those of you that that may be looking into this field and just kind of want a little bit of insight as to what the different areas are. And so I'm going to break it down. There's mainly three areas, okay? Just to make it simple, we'll break it down into three different aspects, areas, whatever you want to call them, for information technology. And we'll start off with the first area being programming/development, okay? That one's pretty self-explanatory. These are the guys that are sitting behind the desk all day long, focused on lines and lines of code, creating applications, and that's pretty much all they do. Of course, they have to debug it, you know, and fix any bugs and all that kind of good stuff, but really these are the guys behind the scenes, really not much interaction with the team up front, per se. They're focused on creating applications and programs. And so, by the way, programming and development, if you understand programming languages, you can write your own ticket. That's where the money is in IT. That's hands down, that is probably where most of the money is. So if you can learn that stuff, if you have an interest in it, hey, I would go that route. Me personally, I can't stand code. It's not my deal, so that's why I'm not in it. But if you have any interest in dealing with code and sitting behind and looking at just lines and lines of code all day long, go for it and do that. Number two is networking. Networking is essentially how everything communicates in the environment, you know? And it starts out with cabling, physical cable. How's everything interconnected, you know? You got Cat 5, got 6, you got fiber optics, you got all the different different physical outlets to where everything connects together, and then you've got how they communicate. So you've got routing involved, and routing goes through the different hardware devices. You've got switches, you got routers, you got firewalls involved, you have certain WAN devices, or what, aka wide area network devices, you know, like you know, it could be anything, you know, accelerator devices, and there's different things, but you know, this is the interconnection piece here. Your job as the network engineers, what they're mostly called, is to troubleshoot that and install it and configure it and maintain it, you know. That could be a pretty fun area. Cisco would fall into this route here. So if you were on that path to, say, becoming a Cisco certified network person, you fall into this range right here, and that could be a fun track as well. I actually had an interest in Cisco. I got my certification at one point, and it's a fun and interesting part of IT, because you're dealing with specific pieces of hardware, not servers and Windows and all that kind of stuff. So networking is basically how the entire environment, you know, in one geographic location or worldwide, how does everything interconnect? And your job is to troubleshoot, you know, latency, traffic, you know, why aren't things talking to each other? You know, what's going on the network here? The servers are slow. I mean, there's just all different kinds of areas. So what you'll do is you'll use debugging tools, network capture type tools to identify all this and trace it down. And so that's networking. The next one's going to be the biggest one of all, which is called information systems. That is basically your server slash application ecosystem. It's the entire realm of all your server hardware and your applications. All right. So these are going to be the people that are your server administrators that are taking care of all the different applications that are in the environment, including administering the servers all the way down to the hardware level. I mean, there's some companies that are so big that they actually have a team that does nothing but hardware, and those are the guys that are building the servers from scratch, not physically building them, but installing Microsoft Windows on it or whatever operating system there is, and getting that all configured up and joining it to the network. And then you've got all the different other admin roles that play a part there. So you might not be able to read these. So basically you've got your SQL database administrators. These are the folks that are managing the database servers. And there's a lot of commonality between a SQL programmer and a regular programmer. They can kind of fit up there in that realm a little bit. You have your email system administrators, and that could be Microsoft Exchange. Believe it or not, there's a bunch of companies still running Domino, which is the IBM product. You got those guys and gals. You've got Active Directory and DNS. You know, in the larger enterprise companies, again, you might have somebody or a team that's doing nothing but Active Directory type stuff, and which is all part of the Microsoft operating system. And then you've got application specific support. So any kind of very proprietary software that you might have on site, for example, medical software. So if you work in a hospital, for example, you will have specific medical applications out there, several of them, and you have people that are managing just that application. That's all they do. For the most part, you'll hear the terms network administrator, sometimes called a network engineer, but sometimes they'll call a network administrator and a server administrator synonymously. So you might find them mixed up in this area down here. A server administrator does just that. They take care of the servers that are, make sure that they're up and running. They install all the patches and the updates and anything that needs to be anything that has to do with the server itself. Some of it might even mix in with the hardware. And then you've got your backup team. Okay, because if you're a big enough corporation, you have a separate backup team that's just doing backups and managing that server as well. But then you have the smaller organizations, and I say smaller, that could mean 500 to 10,000 employees. That could be a small organization sometimes. And you've got people that are wearing all these hats, and that's part of the stress with working in IT as an administrator, is that you are basically doing a combination of all this stuff, with the exception of SQL. It's very rare that you find an Exchange person, for example, taking care of the SQL servers, because it's a beast all on its own. Like I said, SQL can almost go under this category up here, but it is an application and it runs on a server itself. So, but it's not surprising at all to look at some of the job boards and the job postings and find, a role that's, say it says network/systems admin or systems administrator or network engineer, and then you look at the job role and the qualifications, and it's all of this stuff in one. I mean, the companies are absolutely ridiculous with their expectations. They basically want you to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, essentially. And it's a sad fact, but there's not much you could really do about it. So you really have to have a broad understanding of all of this different technology to really get ahead in the market and be valuable for companies. There's very few that are going to hire specialists. And again, going back to my example of hardware team, exchange team, AV team, those are the very, very large companies. We're talking, 100,000 users in the environment. Those are the big companies. So anyways, I really hope that helps you out. If you have any additional questions on the different areas of technology and that kind of stuff, leave the comments below. And also, if this is your first time watching any of my videos, thank you very much for finding me and checking it out. If you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button. I'll be pumping out some more of this stuff, and I also talk about other areas of life, not just IT. And I appreciate every single one of you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll catch you on the next video. See you next time.